Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. My name is Edmond, Kizito, your host. On Spectrum, tonight we're reviewing the week, talking about the IGG who's just been named after pressure exerted on President Museveni. The political scene, religious leaders getting vocal, saying President Museveni should not stand in 2016. George Kakoma dying after failing to get money for his the national anthem that he composed. He's the composer of the national anthem. He's not being paid. We'll also talk about Sudan. The world is getting more concerned about a possible war between South and North. South, which is supposed to be a weaker partner in terms of being a young nation, has proved to be more belligerent than probably the North, as many people will have expected. We're going to be talking about those issues. Our guests tonight, Honorable Mike Sebalu, Ugandan representative of the East African Legislative Assembly. You're most welcome, Honorable Mike Sebalu.
Thank you very much, Edmond, and I would like to say good evening to all our listeners and those that are viewing on the net. And I bring you greetings from the East African community in general and the East African Legislative Assembly in particular.
We're also joined by Mr. Nicolas Opiyo, a legal consultant at AKIJUL and a commentator on political and social issues. You're most welcome, Nicolas.
Thank you very much, and good evening to all the listeners and all the viewers.
We're also joined by Mr. Vincent Mayanja, Deputy Secretary General of the Democratic Party. You're most welcome, Vincent.
Thank you, Edmond. Good evening, viewers and listeners.
Honorable Mike Sebalu, President Museveni appoints a deputy IGG all of a sudden because of pressure. Why did he have to wait for so long?
Maybe you meant appointed an IGG because it's not the deputy. The one who has been acting reverts back to the position of deputy. But you remember that a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week or two ago, when the president was meeting the EU delegation to Uganda, he did indicate that he actually needed time to look around for a very credible and person of very high integrity to take up the position of IGG. You'll appreciate that this office is critical, very important, and it needs to be occupied by someone who can fit in it properly and be able to do a good job. That is not to say that those that have occupied it have not done a good job, but I think at this point in time, when we have so many cases of corruption, abuse of office, and all allegations are flowing in the air, it is imperative and important that then President takes his time to really come up with someone that feels will live up to the billing of the office. So I wouldn't say that the coming into the appointment of Mulyagonja, the Lady Justice Mulyagonja, is provoked by the cause, and I think the time was right, because such an appointment is done through a process. It's not an event that one day you pick on someone and you appoint them. It is a process where you get people's names forwarded, then they are vetted, then security organs go around them to establish their level of integrity. You go into their track record, their background.
Be sure they pay their power bills.
So all these details, because you can get embarrassed. You bring someone at that level, then someone comes up with such an allegation. This person didn't pay tax on this, didn't do this. So it is actually a process which I believe culminates into such an appointment. So the timing must be looked at retrospectively, that it started some time back.
2 years ago, more than 2 years ago.
Well, it doesn't need to take that much, but you may find that these names are put on the table. Then with so many things happening, the president doesn't attend to it in time, then he gets to it. But definitely the principle I want us to appreciate is that it takes some bit of time to conclude such a process. And the timing was that when the president made the appointment, he had got sufficient information and intelligence regarding the appointment, to the effect that the person of the Lady Justice Mulyagonja is the right person to do so. And I know the lady. I definitely believe she's someone who can do a good job. I know her at a personal level from her official capacity. Actually, at one time she was in private practice with Eva Luswata Kauma, and I was their client at some point in time. So I should declare interest that I've been her client at one point or the other. But she's a lady of impeccable record of integrity, and I believe she will do a good job in that office.
Well, most times women have good integrity, the ones who are sent to public life. In terms of perspective, when you compare them to men, why didn't you just give it to Baku? Baku has done a very good job, done a better job than all his predecessors combined.
Yeah, I think, well, that one can best be answered by the appointment. But I think he wanted to bring a new lease of life in the office and get it to live up with the challenge to another level that come. But the good thing is that Baku has been retained, which is also a good thing in that it also leaves the whole idea of continuity and institutional memory is quite something good to be maintained, so that when Justice Mulyagonja comes in, there is a basis for recollection and institutional memory to fall back to as she executes her mandate.
Mr. Vincent Mayanja.
Yes.
Why did the president have to act under pressure? There was a lot of pressure, diplomats, parliament,
Honorable Sebalu is trying to tell us that the process has really taken some time, and that though these were coming and the Constitutional Court ruled, but the president was considering some names, and Lady Justice Eileen Mulyagonja had been zeroed in. But my problem is one. Why should we wait for such crises like the Constitutional Court ruling, and then we rush to appoint people? If we are going to manage public affairs like firefighting processes, then we are not going to go very far. I want to give a benefit of doubt to the justice, to the Lady Justice Mulyagonja who has been appointed, and I hope she is going to do a good job. But what we need to look at in this appointment is the independence of the IGG office, because that's what we need. Will Mulyagonja be as independent as the office requires? Is she strong enough to stand against all that wind that I see blowing towards the office of the IGG? Are we not going to see the office being used to fight political battles as we have seen in the recent past? That is the challenges really Justice Mulyagonja is going to be faced with. But more importantly, I tend to believe that the president really did not want to appoint a substantive IGG until the Constitutional Court really created. Why do you think he didn't want? Created a crisis for him. Why do you think for 2 years? You cannot tell me that the president. No, but this is an important office, and you very well know that the problems of this country currently are many, but the main problem is corruption, and this office is major in fighting corruption. If you want really to fight corruption, you should have given it as a priority and given it the attention it requires. But to take 2 years, and that whatever the office has been doing for the last 2 years could be declared null and void is very, very unfortunate. Well, but I think the president should have taken his discretionary duty to appointing a substantive IGG, and I don't even believe the president when he says that he had really looked around, tried to look at many people, and he didn't find somebody with impeccable integrity, and is finding somebody after the ruling. I don't believe him, because I believe that we have so many people. I have seen so many people stand up and really say things the way they are. I would really love that the president sampled with the people we have already witnessed. Like Paul Samogere. No. We have a person like Justice Ogola. I think he was
He's been retired.
Well, we retired, but this is not.
And he's just been appointed chairperson.
Well, that's just recently, but he has been there floating. We have had so many people who have done good work as far as transparency and accountability is concerned in this country.
He's found a woman eventually.
No, but I think the example is bringing, because if someone has reached retirement age,
you let him rest.
No, there are certain levels of offices then where he can serve, but to appoint him substantively,
it's taking him back.
Yeah, it's taking him back to service.
All right.
But then he can be chairman of this and that. And I think you appreciate that.
I don't know whether we know the age of the Auditor General. He's an old man, but he's doing a good job.
Doesn't look very old.
By the way, I don't want my friend to
gray hairs, but he doesn't look very old.
Because definitely that office is clear, and the age requirement for that office is quite clear.
Nicholas, the president said he didn't want a poacher who might be shooting his wild pigs.
Well, not to discuss the president, first of all, allow me to congratulate Lady Justice Irene Muyagonja. 4 years ago, we used to trek the High Court corridors together. She was appointed a judge of the High Court. She was posted to the Jinja High Court. She served there for a couple of years, and then she was transferred as a judge of the commercial division of the High Court, where she has been until this last appointment. So I think it's befitting to just tell her congratulations. Of course, I am sad and happy at the same time. Sad that the judiciary is losing a very, very, very studious judge, a judge who in many ways has brought sanity in the otherwise corrupt commercial court division of the High Court. I think that is a fact we need to underline, that the court is losing an incredibly good judge to the office of the IGG. Now, we all know that the judiciary is suffering problems of understaffing. The fact that one of the very best judges, is being pulled away and taken away, and yet the courts are suffering from a lack of judges. It's worrying for a lawyer like myself. We have lost so many justices. We've lost Justice Sebutinde, we've lost Justice Bosa, we've lost Justice Ugandan Tende, and we just keep on depleting, and we don't see
but using the word lost.
Let him continue. Let him complete his point.
They've gone away. We've lost him as a profession. So I think it's
in the country.
First of all, just to be selfish, I think that the Law Society and the entire legal fraternity has lost a good judge. We pray that her shoes are quickly filled by somebody equally important. I also know that her appointment is only contractual, and that upon the expiry of her contract she can still revert to the judiciary. But more importantly, I think what we need to begin to examine very carefully is Justice Irene Muyagonja going to exercise the same breadth of independence and the same breadth of integrity she's been doing at the commercial court? That is what I think should worry me. Are we removing a person of integrity and dropping her in muddy waters where she's going to be in the middle of very dirty exchanges, in essence getting involved in politics? So I think that is what I think we need to begin to discuss very, very urgently, because I think arguing for the reason for the appointment, that argument has been I think made, that the president for some reason couldn't find the time to appoint somebody. I don't think the problem was an absence of somebody of integrity, because Justice Irene has been here forever. So have many other Ugandans who are capable of actually doing this job. So that argument has been made. We need to let it rest. The argument that we should focus is the office of the IGG going forward in light of the ruling of the court. I think the appointment of Justice Irene is a good one, and we must applaud it. We must provide support. We must provide her with the necessary support she needs to do her work. I only pray that the same fate that befell Justice Mwanda doesn't befall her, because we all know what Justice Mwanda actually became. In many ways,
give us a recap of that.
Brought disrepute to the office of the IGG. Really, she refused to go to Parliament to get approvals, and yet the law requires that. She then became a preaching IGG, who in many ways became very embarrassing to this country. So I think that the appointment of Justice Irene brings a lot of sanity in his office.
Honorable Sebalu, why didn't he just appoint all the people he needed to appoint at once, the president? He could have appointed the second deputy as well. He's just given us one woman. We still another vacancy.
Yeah, I think, and just to add to what my brother has been saying, I think he's just made a very good case that the previous appointment was looked at as a good appointment, but down the line became troublesome. So with such a background, you really need to look around and ensure that you don't get the same problem. So that is good reason to take care and really do a good job in picking someone. I believe that getting the substantive IGG in place is a very good step, and it is part of the process of filling the entire office, and I believe sooner than later we will be getting another deputy to get the entire office fully constituted. So it is a process, and we should encourage it. So and we should even demand it.
In the next 2 years we should be able to...
No, I don't think it will...
These things take time.
I do believe that it may not even go to the close of the month or early next month. I believe the process is on. Now that we've got the substantive one, I believe sooner than later we'll be getting a deputy, and the office will be fully constituted and conform to even the demands.
But I hope nobody goes to court and says that it's not fully constituted.
Nicholas, what does this mean?
The second deputy is not there.
Yeah, what does it mean for the Constitutional Court? Following up on what Vincent just said. What does it mean? What does it mean for the Constitutional Court ruling?
First and foremost, having read the report of the Constitutional Commission and having read the answers of Parliament, I now increasingly begin to think that the Constitutional Court was extremely wrong in ruling the way they did. Because if you read the report, in fact, the background is important, that this office was first created in 1986. The office was created even before a law was passed. And Augustine Ruzindana was appointed as
10 years.
With a deputy in Waswalude
who came after 3 years.
Who never took office until after 3 years.
Yes.
But the office went on, and worked. At the time, the naming of the office was the Inspector General of Government.
Yes.
Now, the Constitutional Review Commission, the Docket Commission, then thought it wise that it shouldn't be called Inspector, for the sole reason that the office then risked being personalized, so that it is taken as an individual's office. Change the name to an inspectorate. Okay, of government.
Yes.
In no way did they intend that the actions of the inspector and his deputies should be an action in
an individual
in unison. No.
Yes.
They didn't intend that the actions
should
be a collective action. I think that was not the intention of the legislature, and as far as the court ignored the text leading to the enactment of that article, I think the court erred, in my view, and I hope that the Supreme Court can have the chance to correct that mistake. But that said, I think...
Let's not lose the subtle point you just made.
Yeah.
Moving from the Inspector General of Government to the Inspectorate of Government, what does that mean? It's shared responsibility from the top to the bottom. It's one body. What does it mean? Give us that explanation.
See, the argument contained in the Docket Commission report for the change of name from the Inspector General to the Inspectorate was simply because of 3 reasons.
Yes.
The first is that it risks being personalized, so that the institution is seen as an individual. Secondly, was because they thought that it is important, because this person is overworked, it is important to create deputies, so that the deputies have a particular docket, like you have in the office of the DPP.
Yes.
There's one in charge of finance, there's one in charge of administration, there's one in charge of litigation. We all know Butera, but people like Amos Ngolobi who are doing an incredible job in accounting for that office are not known. So the same principle was being transferred to the office of the IGG. Now, in as far as that argument was concerned, it did not in any way intend to mean that the office must first of all have all the deputies and the IGG for it to function. No. Yes.
Okay, so
I think that is the argument. That argument
would have held in view of the dispensation.
Yes. In fact, what the court did was to solely rely on the harmonization rule of interpretation, but ignored one fact: the intention of the legislature, which, reading the review report and the answers of Parliament, would reveal that they never intended that the IGG should act in unison with his deputies for it to be able to prosecute people under his office. So that's the argument I think is important for us to make. Now, more importantly also, I think the appointment of Justice Irene in itself will not be a solution to the problems that have bedeviled this country. It will bring some sanity. Of course, it's important.
Now, first of all, what does it mean for the Constitutional Court ruling? Is it null and void or what?
No, it doesn't mean that. In fact, if one is to agree with the decision of the court, then the appointment would then appear as though it is complying with the court decision.
Yes.
It is fulfilling one of the things that the court actually talked about. That we must
but the point here is, these three men said they were stepping back in the office, dusting their coats and so on. Are they off the hook? Well, Raphael Baku said they were not off the hook.
They are not.
But can they step back into their offices now?
No. Because even that very same decision that appears to have halted their trial, first of all, the trial has just been halted. They haven't been acquitted. The very core reason for them being before the anti-corruption court hasn't been dealt with. What has been dealt with is a declaration of the powers of the IGG. That question does not absolve them of liability. In fact, what is going to happen, that even if that judgment is supposed to absolve, that judgment is on appeal. An appeal would therefore eventually mean that any actions or orders of that court cannot be implemented until the appeal is disposed of. So they still cannot resume their offices. If they do so, they'll be doing it illegally.
This is Spectrum on Radio. Want to go for a break? We'll be back. Just stay tuned.
When Junior lost his appetite, his mother tried all methods to get him to eat. She tried scary stories.
Eat, Tommy, eat, or the big black elephant will come and eat all your food.
She tried magic.
Tommy, if you eat your food, I will turn this handkerchief into sweets. Look, bumble, bumble, boom, boom.
Then she discovered Apetol multivitamin syrup with lysine.
Mommy, I finished all the food. I am number 1.
Apetol multivitamin with lysine is helping mothers to turn mealtime frustration to a fun moment. Apetol has a great taste and contains lysine, which quickly improves your child's appetite and supports healthy growth. Apetol, help for life.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special.
You've earned it. Not for sale to persons under 18.
My name is Dominic Opiyo, a driver. I want a cash of 1 million shillings. I subscribe star 200 hash. The money can do some small business for my family. I would therefore invite the others who are not yet with Airtel to also come and join us and then play Chika.
More houses, more millions, and more talk with Chika Too Good Chikaye. Dial star 500 hash. Get 30 Airtel to Airtel minutes and stand a chance to win 1 million shillings every day and one of 2 houses every month. Activate Chika today and win big. Chika Too Good Chikaye. Chika Too Good Chikaye.
Airtel.
Accept no substitutes.
Radio 1, FM 90.
Welcome back to Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight on Spectrum, we're reviewing the week. Some of our guests tonight, Honorable Mike Sebalu, Uganda representative of the East African Legislative Assembly, Mr. Nicolas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL and commentator on political and social issues, and Mr. Vincent Mayanja, Deputy Secretary General of the Democratic Party. We've spoken about the IGG, now we'll talk about something else. Religious leaders spoke during the Easter holiday saying the president should retire in 2016. Nicholas, why should we retire a man who's doing miracles for us?
You see, I think the message of the bishops
is a message from God.
Has been very clear. I'm not saying it's a message from God. I don't know how they communicate with God. But I do think, importantly, that the message they have communicated is sort of a new message. The message that we must have the possibility of a peaceful transition of power from one person to another in this country is a message that has been drummed for a very, very long time. I quoted today on my Facebook page a provision in the decision of the Doki Commission, which in essence said that having the possibility of somebody being in office indefinitely, however fair the elections, has dangers of personal rule, use of state resources to entrench oneself in power, and disregard of important state functions. This is a message. This was an argument that people made when we were making our constitution. When it was dismantled at a cheap price of 5 million shillings, per head. Yes, per head. The people again protested. There have been many processes since then denouncing this process and calling for the restoration of term limits, which would in essence mean that President Museveni will not have contested for elections. Now, the bishops are merely reflecting, they are echoing the voices of the people, because if you put a referendum in this country today that should you restore term limits, I can tell you the answer will be an absolute yes. Now, instead of attacking the religious leaders for voicing the concerns of their people, we should begin to focus on the content of what they are saying. Because I saw the article today by I think Mafabi, the president's advisor.
One of his advisors.
And you know, he was berating the bishops for having gone into politics. That should not preoccupy us, whether they are now playing politics or not. The question is, the matter that they raise is an important matter and must be addressed. Because quite honestly, since independence, Uganda has never had the possibility of a peaceful transition of power.
Or an actual peaceful transfer.
We have not
coups.
Not because we are saying that if this is allowed to continue, there is a possibility of this country going into conflicts. There is a possibility of mass uprising against a president who has overstayed in power. So I think that the message is clear. We need to begin to discuss the message, not the messenger. We must restore term limits so that we can make it possible, even if it is just transition from one person to another person in the same party. That in itself is important.
It's a change of power.
We need to have that possibility in our country, because imagine us stuck with somebody who is hopeless for 10 years and we can't get rid of him. We could only wait 10 years and get rid of him, but if there's no chance of that happening, believe me, this country is headed for bad times.
Tunisia had one.
I think we need to heed to the voice of the people, restore term limits, restore sanity in our politics.
You don't think change of power?
The removal of term limits, I think, was one of the saddest moments in our constitutional history.
You don't think change of power through an election from one person to himself is a good thing?
You see, elections themselves...
Because wins an election after campaigning...
Winning elections themselves is one issue. But in a situation where you have an incumbent who has been in power forever, somebody who in many ways now signifies or personifies the state or the government, people think that Uganda is now one person. That person is so entrenched so that the entire state resources are at their disposal for them to manipulate elections. Even if elections are held, they can manipulate it. So we think we need to have a situation where somebody has a possibility of peacefully transitioning without necessarily using state resources and his power of incumbency to entrench himself in power. That point has been made, it's made very clear.
Honorable Michael seems to agree very, very strong. Let's talk to Mr. Go on,
No, I think Nicholas has made his point. I definitely, one thing that I do is that I have great respect for bishops, and they are entitled to their opinion. One is that they are taking advantage of the freedom of expression that we do have in this country, and that needs to be appreciated.
And those are their personal opinions?
Yeah, they have
video opinion.
But I think we also need to look at, we are talking about the views because we are quoting Christmas sermons, but there was Easter sermon. But there was a very senior bishop, actually much more senior than some of these whose message was that
don't bring people
the men of the collar should not indulge in politics. We need to balance this. Why aren't we bringing this aspect? Actually, Archbishop Orombi was very clear. No, I didn't go for I'm building my point because you ignored it. So for me, I want a balanced debate. So he came out and did indicate that men of the collar ought to concentrate. They have enough on their plate,
preaching the gospel,
and they can do quite a bit of good job concentrating on that. But that aside, I think my comment on the messages of the bishops is that one, they are entitled to their opinion. Two, is that I think they can do us justice also to look at issues that do concern with the day-to-day plight of the people. Because we've just gone through an election where a leader was elected with the overwhelming majority and was elected by Ugandans. You know, Ugandans elected their president. So for me, what should be the essence now is to look at the kind of promises these leaders put, or the leader in question put across the table, because he was elected on the basis of his manifesto. So they should be doing a checklist. You promised this, have you done this? You've promised this, have you done it? Because the subject under discussion now, in my view, is being discussed in wrong time. Because we are creating a situation in this country where all the time we are engaging our people in politics.
But we have policemen.
You have policemen government. We are just going through elections. Even before a year, someone is concentrating on delivering the promise of their manifesto. You are engaging in politicking because if someone should go, someone should leave. No, it's not the nature. We need to give people time to concentrate on other things other than politicking. So let us do politics when the political time is ripe, and not engage in politicking all the time. What the bishops are engaging in now, in my view, is politicking.
And you are a man who was baptized.
Yes, I was.
You speak as a man who was
baptized. And I actually respect them. But I think we need to give some time for people to work, encourage them to work, then encourage government to deliver the promises. Then when we get to 3 years or 4, then we go into the transition and the management. But otherwise, we are going to keep our people on politics, and at the end of the day, we are doing them a disservice.
We'll not be able to do someone. Well, listeners, this is Spectrum Radio, and you can send in you might not be able to call, but you can send in your text messages tonight. What you do is type the word Spectrum. Question, message, or comment, send it to 7197. That is Spectrum 7197, with the body of the message in the middle. Mr. Vincent Mayanja, let's grow our cabbages and tomatoes. Let's forget about politics till 2014 or 2015.
You know, all these people in the NRM really baffle me. For one reason, they don't draw the line between what is politics and what is not. You heard Honorable Sebalu talking and say that the church leaders should concentrate on the day-to-day plight of the people. And I want to believe that he's talking about the hardship people go through to make a living, how they win a bread on their table the next day. I think that he's talking about that. But I want to tell him that is politics already. Politics is about who will share what, where, when, and how. If you think that is really divorced from the church leaders, then we are mistaken.
I was talking about politicking. If you got me right, there's a difference between politics and politicking.
But I think that when somebody is talking about the governance of the country, he's talking about politics. The bishops are saying that, well, if you are going to overstay in power, then it has its problems, and we are addressing curative preventive measures. Not they don't want to wait for curative measures because they are very expensive. When you move around town and you see soldiers, you see policemen stationed everywhere, it is a continuous situation where you see policemen in one file in anti-riot gears everywhere in this town, and you think that is very good, and the bishops are leading. Bishops don't lead the buildings, they lead the people you are talking about. These people are the Christians, these people are the Muslims, these people are the followers, and they make the body politic of this Uganda. Therefore, when they talk about issues concerning how these people are governed, I think they are right and they should continue doing that. When they talk about development issues, when they talk about the good thing the government has done, that's a good one, and we don't condemn them. When they talk about, for example, Bishop Ruhanga condemned the demonstrations. Well, the Honorable Sebalu was telling my friend Nicolas that he forgot to talk about what Orombi said, but he also forgot to talk about what Bishop Ruhanga said. He said that you opposition politicians don't lead people into danger. But he also cautioned the government.
All right.
And we need to appreciate that. At that.
Can the NRM survive without President Museveni, Honorable Sebalu?
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Who will pay for your campaigns?
NRM is a party with a constitution, with organs and structures that are designed to outlive an individual. We do appreciate that President Museveni
you don't have a source of income, unlike Uganda.
Is a big factor. Definitely, his contribution is something that you cannot ignore. But definitely, the party has been anchored in such a way that it can outlive the leaders of today, and it goes into continuity.
Do you have a source of income as a party?
Well, you see, a party's major resource is its members.
All right, well,
our party is a mass party, and with that we can mobilize any kind of resources that we do need at any time.
All right.
You see, like the UPC, the NRM must deal with the big man mentality and the big man syndrome, because all of this about structures and systems, UPC had them. When the bottle went, when the bottle left, they're in shambles because they failed to transition from an individual so powerful and in whom every power is vested. I think President Museveni is walking down the same road. The NRM is going down the same road. We must begin to see a clear demonstration that if you leave the stage, the party can survive, the members can stay together.
But maybe that's a strength for the party. The party needs to be robust. Can it survive without him? Can it still have the same strength? Would it stay united?
Well, my point is that I don't think they will. My point is that
maybe then it's better for him to stay for the party.
For the party, that's okay. They can have him forever if they want to. We're talking about the country here, the government and the country.
All right.
We're talking about a different entity.
Let's talk about
the party can have whoever they want to be their party. Please, that's the association, that's their group.
All right.
But this country belongs to all of us. The point we are making is for this country, not for the NRM party.
But I think you should make that point from a background of democratic principles. As long as through democratic and fair elections, someone is returned as a leader. The problem is for someone to impose themselves on the country. But when someone leads on the basis of a mandate that is given to him by the majority of Ugandans, I think democratically you have the courtesy of respecting the people's voice.
How conveniently you invoke principle of democratic, governance when, if it suited you, you threw him out of the window and disregarded people of this country and amended Article 105, Clause 2. How do you make this? The point is, democratic principle mean that you move with consensus. You move with the majority.
Yes.
You seek the views of the majority. The majority spoke and put a constitution that put Article 105,
yes,
Clause 2 for term limits.
Yes.
When the time came that was convenient to them, they went and paid themselves 5 billion shillings at Mosa Court and amended the constitution.
With receipts or what?
Can we be a bit consistent?
Let's move forward. Talking about 5 million, there's a man who was offered 50 million. He said no, simply because he wanted, he asked that I'm talking about Professor George Kakoma, the composer of the national anthem. As he died at the weekend, he hadn't been paid a penny by the government. They paid his hospital bills. His funeral will be funded by the government. He didn't get money for his song, the national anthem. Listen, Mayanja, did the government treat him right, or do we not respect our heroes?
Well, first and foremost, the death of Professor Kakoma has really betrayed Ugandans, that we only respect dead people. I can assure you that if the next day you asked for the accountability of the state funeral given to Kakoma,
yes,
you really be surprised.
About what?
About the amount of money involved.
I think only 20 million. I think there's
whether 20 or whatever. But when this man was demanding for pay for
500 million,
and government didn't even look where he was.
They offered 150.
But you know what? There is one person in this country who has been preaching patriotism.
Yes.
He has even dedicated funds to that cause. He is preaching patriotism every day.
Yes.
What is patriotism than composing a national anthem? Whether I'm DP or you are NRM, UPC or FDC, whenever this song is played anywhere, you feel
there's no problem. That's good. But the man, he wanted 500. The government offered 150. That's not too little.
I want to come to that.
Yes.
The government said that yes, we cannot offer you
$500 million shillings.
$500 million. But the president went to Rwanda. Out of the blue, the president promised $300,000.
You can't promise. You can't make
this is about. This is about. We have really to look at all.
Let's keep the baskets a little bit separate.
This is about 750 million shillings
to a sovereign country.
To a country that has a government that has an education ministry.
Yeah, but that's a gesture of
person who did something. He composed something that is going to remain forever.
If Uganda remains, we could become another.
If Uganda remains, it's going to remain there. And you can't sit him down, talk to him, then you really praise him after his death. I think it is a very, very unfortunate situation.
I think very bad. I think it is bad manners to begin to discuss somebody who hasn't even been laid to his grave. I think it is befitting that we allow.
Well, he represents a lot. He's not just another individual.
I think it is befitting that we allow the deceased go to his bed in a dignified manner. He hasn't even been buried, and we're here dancing on his.
No, we're not dancing. We're talking about. He's a phenomenon. He's not just another man.
I think from discussing the person of the professor, I would think it's unfair. What I think.
No, he's a phenomenon. He's not just another man. He's not. We didn't pick him from his village.
That's my view.
We're talking about a phenomenon. He composed the national anthem.
Can you listen?
You can't ignore
my view. My view is that I'm not discussing the person. What I think we must be discussing is the wider framework of our national heroes, of the people who have made this country what they are, and how are they being treated. Because beyond just the national anthem, there are many other people who have made this country what they are. They are actually supposed to be heroes. But that when the time comes to honor them, we don't. What do we see? We see people who are involved in killing fellow Ugandans. Of Kagera being given medals, being put on the podium, being praised, and I think that we need to begin to look at who are our national heroes. Our heroes are people like the late professor. They are not people who have killed fellow Ugandans in the Battle of Kagera, in the medal of whatever you name them. I think that people like this need better treatment in their times when they are alive. Because without them, Uganda will not be what it is. People who fought for independence, for example, the late Apollo Milton Obote, could not even get the dignity of lying in state. Or the dignity, he laid in state, but the dignity accorded to a person who fought for independence. Milton Obote is in the same light as Hamid Ben Bella of Algeria, Abdel Nasser of Egypt,
George Washington,
Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Tom Mboya in Kenya. These are the people who made the African countries and took them away from the colonialists. And yet we can't even honor them in a dignified manner until their death. I think we need to begin to rethink the question of awarding people who have done great jobs for this country. John Akiba died a poor man. His family is being kicked out of his house. He was the first Ugandan to get a gold medal at the Olympics. And yet, all that has been thrown away. I think we need to discuss that as opposed to discussing a man who is lying in his coffin. That's my humble submission.
Honorable Sebalu.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of an emotional kind of moment when I think we ought to be paying tribute to the late Kakoma for the great works that he did, because you see, when you go into the discussion of whether one was rewarded or not, it has certain other dimensions that you can go in which could be counterproductive, because you'll hear of some amounts which were given, the merit and the demerit of it, the value of it at the time, whether it was asked for or not, or whether it was demanded. And for me, I think the debate should not be, my friend has talked about Achibua dying a poor man. I think it should not be about riches, but it is dignity. You may not have the money,
but you are an honorable person.
You are looked at with dignity, because a person like that, like Achibua or like even Kakuma, in my view, it's not about the billions, but it's about the kind of way you are carried with. Getting him like an official transport, and maybe a decent residence, and is taken care of when there are functions like in Kololo. You are accorded that dignity. You are part of the official government invitation list. You know, it is not about money. It is just treating you with the dignity and decorum. So let's not monetize these issues so much. Let's give it some level of dignity, and when one knows, even you know, he is someone like when you are having independence, every day that independence is celebrated and you are preparing for independence, these are people who should be given airtime on the national television to give his statement, to give what he thinks we have got. That kind of recognition, in my view, can really create and can be inspirational. So the money can be good.
I'm sure he never sang his own song in a public function.
So to be allowed that courtesy. And right now, to me, I think it is not too late. We can even honor, although it is not desirable, but we can honor posthumously. We can get a major street in Kampala. We can put up a building to do with, and it is named after him, because he is one gentleman who is going to live with us as long as this nation called Uganda lives. So to me, it is not too late. I believe we can still do something and honor the person of the late Kakoma for the great works that he did as part of a group of the founding fathers of this nation.
All right, before we move forward, let's hear what some of you dear listeners sent in as a way of comment. Spectrum, why would a government elected by the people fear them? Truth be told, the NRM only has rented support and can only survive by coercion, but not mandate, as Honorable Mike Sebalu seemed to say. That's one comment. Another comment, Spectrum, is Honorable Sebalu implying that issues of governance are not part of the daily plight of the people? That's Dennis in Boyogere. Somebody else, Albert, says Orombi is leaving a neo-legacy, is a strong words, for speaking out on matters affecting the flesh of Christians. It's unfortunate for both him and his flock. That's Albert. Somebody else says, Spectrum, please don't mix issues. The Uganda Joint Christian Council is not saying Museveni should be pulled out of his office. It's about him standing again. The 68% you keep talking about didn't vote for him. That somebody who didn't leave his name. Another person, Frank, says, Honorable...
no wonder he could not leave his name.
All right. This Frank says that please be... I think he meant Honorable Sebalu. Please be humorous and humble in debate. Explain positions and ideas other than being combative. That's Frank. Then Spectrum, why do you... Okay. Somebody else says, I first got shocked when instead of pleading innocent, Dr. Kenya said IGG could not prosecute him. That's Owana. Then Moses finally in Tina says, let them rob the country till it dries, but they will leave power and we judge them. Nicolas Opiyo.
Well, I mean, the messages from the listeners speaks for itself. That the cause for which the bishops are...
Honorable Sebalu, another one from Honorable. He says, why do you host Honorable Mike's Mr. Sebalu? He lacks credibility. He endorsed the last elections in Kenya, calling them the most peaceful. He makes me sick. That's David in Namwongo. And somebody else says that if Kano Besige let an anarchical group like A4C wreak havoc and overthrow him, if he was elected, would Besige leave A4C to take him out of power if he won the election? That's what Asa in Machinje.
Well, I mean, the point is that the views of the people, what the bishops are saying is coming across very clearly, that we need to have term limits back. And I hope that every Ugandan will wake up every day and demand of their leaders that term limits be restored, because we must get this country back on democratic path and principles.
Honorable Mike Sebalu.
Yeah, I do first of all appreciate the comments. The comments.
He's a man of peace, so that would be
the comments of the colleagues. One, they are very much entitled to their opinion, but I would like to specifically respond on the two. One who indicated that I was being very combative. I think that one really is. He doesn't even know me, I think, or even my peace, because we are enjoying very collegial discussion in this.
We normally do.
And I believe really he has ill intentions. He's imputing ill motives about my personality. But
when he actually mentioned a different name, he probably thought you were somebody else.
So I would excuse him for that. Then regarding the colleague who talked about my credibility, again, also, I'm not someone who wants to talk about my credibility. if he
the
knows,
Kenyan election, did you endorse it?
The Kenyan election, I was not in position to endorse. By the way, someone ought to appreciate that the work of endorsing an election is the responsibility of the electoral management body.
Even a private
you can only make comments about the process, the credibility of the electoral outcome, and the processes the way you saw them. And in no way did I ever have the powers to endorse the elections. Actually, he's overrating me, and he's putting me in positions that unless he wishes me one of these days to be in charge of electoral management.
When you retire, would you like to be an election observer?
I think Nicholas has really captured it well, that what the listeners and viewers are saying is resonating well with what the bishops are saying. We just need to look at that viewpoint and address ourselves to it.
All right, we can talk about South Sudan. They have a belligerence going on there. South Sudan has moved into Hague.
If I could just briefly mention something I've read that you may not have heard about, is that for the past 6 months,
yes,
the Sudan Tribune, which is a newspaper in the Sudan, has consistently been drumming war drums
in South Sudan
about the involvement of Uganda. First of all, the government of Sudan has accused the government of Uganda of funding rebels who are fighting.
The government of Sudan,
yes, Khartoum, has accused Kampala of funding rebel groups fighting in Darfur. Has accused Uganda, rebel groups in Sudan has accused Uganda of killing their leaders.
All right.
There's interesting development in that.
Maybe we'll talk about that on its own merit, because it's an important international diplomatic matter. Thank you for coming, dear guest, Honorable Mike Sebalu, Uganda representative of the East African Legislative Assembly. I can't say he's a man of peace. Thank you for coming to Spectrum, sir.
Thank you.
And a man of orderly thought.
Thank you for hosting us in a very peaceful and collegial environment.
Mr. Nicolas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL Commentator on political and social issues. Thank you very much indeed for your insightful views as always.
Well, I'm grateful. I wish we could all restore term limits today.
Mr. Vincent Mayanja, Deputy Secretary General of the Democratic Party, not a supporter of term limits. Thank you for coming to Spectrum.
Thank you, Edmond.
Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. The Spectrum will be back on Monday. Have a very blessed weekend.
Hi, Dad. I'm stealing you.